Welcome to TALRadio of Touch a Life Foundation. You are now going to listen to the 10th episode of Mentor Loop, a career helping guidance from Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at TAL Career Help. In this week's episode, we shall be knowing the tips in selecting a career. A perfect career is important not just for our professional growth, but also for a holistic life. So get ready to know everything about selecting a suitable career.
Hello everyone, this is Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at Touch a Life Foundation, bringing to you another episode of Mentor Loop, a number of podcasts around careers, looking at your brand, your elevator pitch, networking, and now today, the topic that I'd like to discuss with you is how do you choose a career and how do you enter the zone of being able to make a career selection that will suit you and you would enjoy for the future of your career and its growth. So the first phase of what you need to do in order to make that selection is a self-assessment. What are your key values? It could be that you want financial stability, you want to help others, you want to have independence, you want to have the opportunity to make a difference in community, whatever may be those values, make a note of that. Then look and comb through all your soft skills that you possess. Soft skills could be that of time management, communication, confidence, problem solving, analytical. Any of those would be the array of skills that you put down again and make a note of what makes you comfortable with you having possessed those skills. The next aspect that you need to kind of track down is the technical skills. This would be either planning, research, science, coding, photography, multilingual, data analytics, and data sciences could all be those technical skills. And within coding, do I know how to write Java? Do I know how to write Python? What is it that I'm able to do in terms of coding? The fourth aspect that you kind of need to look at, and which is a tricky aspect, but a rather important aspect that you need to assess, and that is your natural aptitude to do things. Are you a good writer? Are you good at selling? Are you good at planning? Are you good at communicating? Are you good at selling? I've already said. So leadership may be another natural aptitude. Influencing people and being able to share your thoughts and ideas among a team of players in your organization. So that would be the natural aptitude. The next would be to go ahead and actually do a personality test to look at what is your personality traits that come out in an assessment. So I have tried both the Myers-Briggs personality types or the 16 personality test. Either one of them will give you a sense of whether you're introvert, extrovert, are you aggressive, confident, quiet, loyal. Those would be some of the characteristics that you can get from a personality test. Lastly, what is your interest? What have you been around, or what has your environment introduced you to? So it could be, again, the society, the environment around you says, as a woman, as an Asian woman, you will be a great doctor. Or as a Black male, you would be great at sports. Those are extremely judgmental and prejudiced, but that's the environment that you've grown in, along with what society talks about making a fit to your upbringing. But I would say draw on the facts of what makes you get excited from what you have seen in your environment and make a note of that as well. So once you have done all of that, that is the first step of kind of trying to determine where you would make a fit. The next opportunity you have to take is to go ahead and write down a list of all your non-negotiables or must-haves in a job. Do I want to earn a certain salary? Do I want to get benefits like healthcare benefits and retirement benefits, how much time off I would get. Then you could also go ahead and look at whether a job involves traveling. Can you travel or not? Is there a certain work location and distance from work to the house that you have to commute every day as another negotiable or non-negotiable item? You could also have something about the titles and the type of jobs. And you can refer to some of the stereotypes that I referred to earlier as being those non-negotiables. You probably want to be in an environment that is not restricted by race, color, or upbringing, but more about who you are. So that could be a non-negotiable as well for you. And then there may be certain tasks that you like to do and are able to do based on where you are in your journey of life as well as your career. So a mom who has just had a newborn probably wants to work part-time and doesn't want to work an entire day. Or maybe the part-time would be a few days a week versus all 5 days of the week. Or it could be that you are non-negotiable about having your weekends freed up for family time and the other 5 weekdays to be that of your career and your job. So those are some of the sort of items that you need to identify, is saying that if I get a job, it has to have these minimum characteristics. So the next step gets even more interesting. Now you're going to go ahead and start exploring the list of jobs that are out there, the different industries that are out there. So how do you start that list of exploration? First, go into your network and look at some of the people who have really done well for themselves and seem extremely happy with where they are and what they're doing. Look through that, comb through that. Then find interesting industries that may be a passion association for you. Say, for example, I do not want to pay these enormous rents that I'm paying for my apartment right now. And maybe I should go ahead and get realtor license to be able to start considering real estate so that I can live in one unit and rent the other units and probably pay the mortgage based off of the other units. So something like that. So based on industry, or it could be a political stance that you have seen around you that draws you to some of the issues that are being faced in the global economy or in the global community would be things that may be of interest to you. Identify those things and identify what you like to do. Some people like to use their hands, build, work with their hands. And some people may just decide to use their voice, their personal presence, going into acting, going into singing. Or it could be you're a farmer, you like to work with your hands, or you're a coder that likes to use your fingers and your brain, but you don't want to have anything to do with the other elements at work. So those would be some of the things that inner passions would drive for. And what do you have there? And what kind of jobs may you hone in on based on that specific interest that you have? Then you could also list a set of goals that you want to make. So you want to say that the first year, 5 years after I have finished college, I want to take it easy, have a fun job, be in an environment that I can just experience life or see things around me. And then the next 5 years, I'm going to be married and I need to bring home a certain amount of money and I need to be a manager in order to raise a family. So those could be some of the goals and values that you can evaluate as well. And lastly, you have to keep in mind your strengths and your talents that will influence that list of jobs that you want to make. Now that you have done a self-assessment, you've got all your negotiables and your non-negotiables written down, and you've also explored industry, type of job, and the values or the goals that you want to meet within those jobs is now listed. So once you have that, you then start going into researching the jobs and the employers that may employ you with that particular job profile that you have in mind. So say, for example, I want to be a pharmacist. So a great idea would be to think about what is a day in the life of a pharmacist. Or you want to be a teacher. And so you can kind of go through and say, do I enjoy being around children for 8 hours, being able to teach? Or do I want to teach a high school set of kids who are a lot more engaged, but can be trouble when they don't like where they are? So those are some of the things that you have now written down in terms of the job exploration list, as I call it. Now, the research will be to be able to play it out, shadow a day or a day in the life, and how does that look? The next aspect you need to play out is what kind of salaries can that particular position generate for you? Look at salary trends and look at some of the salary websites to be able to give you a sense of how much you are worth in the marketplace. The job requirements. So that is again an important piece, whether you will actually meet the needs of the job. So it says you should be a bachelor's degree holder in science subjects in order to apply for this position. Or it would say that you have to have a analytical based education, and psychology is a must because you're working with people and personalities in your job. Or it could be that you have to be physically fit in order to perform the job of, like, say, a policeman or a security officer. You have to look your part as well in terms of the job. So that would be another item. And then the next thing would be, what are the growth potentials or the growth opportunities or availability of the opportunities today in the marketplace? And lastly, you need to look at job outlook. And is there enough hiring and progression that you will have in those jobs? And are those jobs available today? So once you have gone ahead and researched the jobs that are out there and the employers that are out there, you want to start looking at the cultural fit you do or have had with that employer in mind. When you go ahead and do the research on the jobs, you also want to look at whether I have to get any kind of a license in order to perform that job, certifications that may be required for the job, or language requirements for that job. So those become important to go ahead and make sure you are aligning your resume to be able to cover that aspect. Lastly, but not least, you have to start looking for those jobs in the various application tracking systems and job boards to be able to start applying for those jobs and making sure that you have all the keywords from your own assessment to the non-negotiable to the exploration that you have done on the industry and the jobs and the employers that actually have positions open for you. Once you have traversed all of this, you apply for that job and go ahead and make sure that you land yourself an interview within that. Utilize your network to be able to send those resumes so that it can be converted into an interview. So once you have gone through all of this, there may be disappointments where you don't find the job and you're not too sure about what job you think will make a good fit. Try it out. Go in for a contract. Go in for a short-term engagement, or go ahead and do some shadowing or the day in the life to be regurgitated with friends or family who have been in the same industry or have done similar jobs. So do that and make sure you know what you want to go for, and focused application process will absolutely get you the job or the interviews and then the job of your dreams. But also keep in mind that every job is not your final job. There are folks in multiple industries. I take myself for an example. I have worked in the same company for 24 years, but it has not been in the same position. I continually grow and learn various facets of the business. You could have that as an option to consider. Or you could go moving from one company to the other. And while you're looking at the companies, you go ahead and look at whether you look at existing, well-established large corporations, or are you going ahead to look at the innovative side of a startup company, or the ability to do multiple roles in a company so that you can understand what makes you tick and what makes you thrive in your job role or job function that you've chosen. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that draw yourself a box of 3 by 3 and title those boxes as core value on the first column. Second column will be strengths, and the third column will be personality. And in your first row, go ahead and list out 4 core values. And under the strength, put in your hard skills. That is your technical or your academic skills that is required for the job, or certifications or licenses required for that job. And then the personality attributions to it under the personality column. Make sure you have listed them in sync with what you have written down so far in your pursuit of looking for that career. Then the next row will be under the core values. What do I like doing? And what is the inner passion or the inner interest that is going to be fulfilled by the core values that I have? And what are the soft skills in the strengths that I have in order to pursue that career? And then under the personality types, which we talked about, either the Myers-Briggs or any of the honed-in skills that you get, like leadership or team player, or the ability to document, or the ability to present, or the ability to plan. Those would be all the personality types that will be associated to that job that you actually love, and what are the soft skills that go with it. The last but not the least is the more important row that you have. Under the core values, you will list out what are the short-term goals and what are some of the long-term goals. And under the strengths, you're going to put in expertise. And then lastly, on the personality, you're going to put your brand statement. Do you sync and align to your brand with that job, with that expertise, aiming and keeping in mind the short-term and the long-term goals? So try it out, check it out, and list your values. So the first thing is assess yourself and your personality. After you have done that, list out all your non-negotiables. Then go ahead and look at what are the job industries and goals and values and strengths that you have that you can hone in on with the job exploration process. Next, you would make sure you go and look for that job, and what does that job bring you in terms of day in a life, your salary, your job requirements, your growth opportunities, and your job outlook in the current marketplace. And lastly, look at all of those certifications, all of those shadowing or internal influences with your family that will keep you motivated, growing, and learning to keep yourself on a continuous progressive trajectory and pursue your interests of that career that you have chosen. And keep in mind, always good to be flexible so that you can go ahead and consider other positions after you have tried it out and feel like that did not meet the need that you were hoping for. So all the best in your identification of a career process. And do join us at touchalife.org/career help if you wish to be a mentor or a mentee. And keep watching out for all of the next set of Mentor Loop topics that I'll be bringing to you through TALRadio. Thank you once again.
You have just listened to The Importance and Means of Choosing a Perfect Career by Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at TAL Career Help. Stay tuned to TALRadio for many more interesting programs.